Hey everybody, this is Sean.
And Alexis.
And today we're going to be making some dinner for you. I was actually thinking about going to the store and getting a couple extra things and making a fancier dinner, but we're budgeting right now because Christmas is on the horizon and this has been a tough year for everybody. So we've decided to just make a soup with everything we had on hand at home. It's going to be a borscht-inspired soup based on chicken. We've got 3 boneless, skinless chicken breasts, so I'd probably use ones with skin on or add some bacon if this wasn't a budget meal.
Bone-in, skin on would be preferred in this situation, but
just for the fat.
We've got what we've got.
And then we've got half a small green cabbage that I'm going to chop up and dice. I've got 4 small to medium-sized beets. I'm going to peel those and then run them through my food processor because I don't actually have a cheese grater.
And we don't really care what shape specifically stuff comes out in. It's all going in the soup.
Yeah, the key is making sure that it's in a format that it's going to break down. We also have 2 small onions, a whole bulb of garlic, 3 small carrots. I've got a handful of baby potatoes. There's 7 of them there.
Doesn't specifically matter that there's 7 or 8 or 9 or 6.
Usually I use a medium to large red-skinned potato. Because these are baby potatoes, I'm not going to peel them. I would if they were a larger potato.
Yeah.
And then we've got butter. This is going to imitate the fat we would have gotten from bacon or the chicken skin.
If you have bacon or you have chicken skin, by all means use that instead.
Absolutely. We've got a few tablespoons of some sour cream left over. I love serving sour cream in borscht. Since we don't have a full amount, I'm going to whisk this into the borscht at the end.
But if you had a full amount, you would put a nice little healthy dollop on your borscht at the end.
On top of everybody's instead of mixing it in. This way we're just going to share it around and make a couple of meals instead of just one. I don't have chicken stock on hand at home, but I do have some better than bouillon. So I'm going to use this to mix up about 8 cups of stock. Then we've got some cumin, some paprika, and some dillweed, which are our primary spices. There's also going to be salt and pepper. If I add anything else, I'll definitely let you know. Who knows? It might come on a whim.
And we might be adding slightly more dillweed than you would if you had fresh, because ours is dry and slightly old.
Yeah, so it doesn't have as much flavor. We're also going to be adding some bay leaves into this, which I don't have in front of us, but you know what bay leaves look like. From here, I'm going to get into some prep. These guys need to be peeled, so do these. These need to be diced. These needs to be diced. This needs to be minced. This needs to be shredded. These guys need to be in 1-inch cubes.
Now, we're not going to be peeling these guys, but if you did have like a large potato, you would peel that first.
Exactly. Yeah, don't forget that you would want to peel these too. So I'm going to start doing some of the prep, and then we'll get back to you when everything's ready to go.
All done.
Okay, we've got some of our prep done. The potatoes are diced and in water so that they don't go brown. The onions are waiting for us. The carrots are diced. I'm still going to put them through the food processor. We haven't mixed up our stock yet, but I'll do that between scenes. Our garlic is diced. Our cabbage is shredded. The beets are ready to go now. The oven has actually heated up. One trick for peeling beets is that you just cut off both of the ends. We're going to wrap these in tin foil and put them in the oven for a bit. Probably about 15 minutes at 400 degrees. And once they're soft, it's way easier for you to get that skin off of there without taking off too much of the actual beet. It's going to get juice all over the place, and my fingers are going to be stained red. So if you've got any of those gloves around your house from everything that's going around this year, well, hey, might be another use for them. So I'm going to get these into the oven once I've got them all tinfoiled. And then they're going to get chopped up and put into the food processor with the carrots. And I'll be back to you with everything ready to go. Okay, I'm done with the prep of the beets. They've been roughly chopped in here. Some of them are bigger chunks, which isn't a problem. It just gives more texture in your soup. I put the carrots in there too, just to make sure they're nice and chopped. And from there, we're on to the chicken, which I'm going to need to season for us. Just get myself a little bit of salt.
Table salt, kosher salt, doesn't really matter.
It's about a teaspoon of salt going on the chicken. Then a liberal cracking of pepper.
You can always add salt, you can't remove it.
And this isn't going to be the full seasoning for the entire soup. This is just what we're putting over the over the chicken. It's
nice
paprika.
Paprika?
I love hot paprika. This would also be good with smoked paprika or sweet paprika if you don't like as much heat.
I must say, this specific brand of paprika, though, worth it.
Right. And we've got about a teaspoon of cumin in there. Just gonna add a little dash of oregano, which wasn't in our first little list there. That's probably about a quarter teaspoon, I'd say.
And if you have ideas for spices, it will probably work. I'm not the best at cooking, but sometimes I get ideas if I add a certain spice here or a certain spice there. It might be good. Give it a try.
And then after you've got your around a teaspoon of dill weed in there, you've got
some flour.
Maybe 1/8 of a cup of flour. And you're just going to mix this around with your hands to get your chicken all coated. Because this is what's going to build up a lot of flavor in your soup. And it's going to cause some thickening for you.
Now, are you frying these before they go in?
I am, yeah. They're going to fry in the bottom of the pan. We're going to use one of our deep stock pots for this, just on the stove. I've decided not to use the oven. So once these are coated in spice, that's pretty much the next step that we worry about. Is after I wash off my hands here, because
cool.
I've been touching chicken.
They've soaked up all the flour.
Yeah, it's become a paste.
Oh, cool.
With all of their...
now, if they're a little bit... what's the texture like? Are they still a little damp?
Yeah, they just still feel like raw chicken.
Okay.
But a lot of it stuck to my fingers as well because it gooped, but I'm just going to...
Do you want to add more flour, or is this good?
I think this is probably good. It doesn't need that much. If we need more flour later when your soup's not thickening enough, then you just make yourself basically a half and half flour and butter mixture.
Okay.
And whisk it into the soup, and it'll thicken up right away. But this is just basically flavor paste, so that when I cook the chicken, it's got a good base to it. So I'll meet you guys back at the stove once it's heated up and ready to go. Okay, we've started up our pot. Just going to get a bit of butter down in there.
It's on a medium setting.
This is going to give us a lot of the fat for our cooking. I'm reserving some of the butter because I'm going to need to add it later as I cook other parts.
If you had bacon, would you fry it in the pot right now?
Right now I would be frying the bacon to get a layer of fat in the pot, and then the bacon would come out and I would chop it up and reserve it to add towards the end.
Butter smells good though.
It does. I love melting up some butter. There we go. I'm going to grab a little bit of my onions, just a handful of them from where I'd cooked them, and a little bit of garlic. So we want that flavor in with our chicken. This is just giving a nice base of flavor to the oil before we cook our chicken in it. That's going to make sure that it puts as much flavor as possible into the chicken. And then we're going to go with our chicken next.
That smells good.
Get that into there. I'll break it up with the wooden spoon. And then we just want to brown this. Get it kind of cooked on the outside. It doesn't have to cook all the way through, just mostly. It'll cook the rest of the way once it's actually in the soup.
It's very aromatic.
Yeah, there's a bunch of globs of spice in there. Everything you saw me put in the chicken. Okay, I'm just going to continue doing this until the chicken is brown. And once it's browned, I'll start thinking about adding in the some other things. But the chicken's going to have to come out first, because you don't want it to overcook, or it'll be rubbery and gross. So I'll get back to you when I'm just about ready for that. Okay, our chicken is now done. So from here, I'm going to take this out, put it to the side in a bowl, and reserve it for later in the process. And I will meet you back here with an empty pot and a bunch of vegetables ready to get started with the main part of the soup. Okay, we've got our chicken in a bowl. I'm going to throw a bit more butter in here. There's a lot of butter in this. So much butter.
It smells really good though.
Oh, it does. I wish I could actually tolerate lactose though, because I even react to butter. Got onions in there. For a good old stir. They're gonna get a bit of salt. And some of that pepper again.
Kosher salt, table salt, about a teaspoon?
Yeah, it was a sprinkle. It's as much as I could pinch. So I'd say a hefty pinch.
Okay.
Stir that around. It's picked up all the chickeny deliciousness from the bottom. And our
Not
onions have
browned
gone
yet,
translucent.
but
Gone translucent though is the important part. Get my heat back on because I forgot I turned that off earlier. Then I'm getting my garlic in with these. Come in. Okay. It's just a little bit, the last of the butter for good luck. I'm grabbing myself the spices to keep them nearby and handy. But before I add any more spices, I'm going to take the cabbage that I chopped, pop that in there, stir it all up. That hot butter on top of the cabbage will make sure that it wilts for you nice and good. And then while it's sitting here and simmering and you have a time, you can worry about getting some spices in there and sprinkle on a liberal amount of dill weed. More than you think you need, especially if you're using dry. Probably a little bit less if you're using fresh. Just got myself a hefty teaspoon of cumin. Going back to that paprika again, because it's not borscht if you don't have some spiciness. Just sifting it over until I see a nice layer of it over the entire thing. And then probably a hefty teaspoon of oregano, because that's good luck. Stir that all up. You might need more salt and more pepper again later. And maybe even a shot of vinegar depending on how this ends up tasting, because acidity brings out the flavor in all of these ingredients. Cabbages and...
certainly smells very good.
Oh yes, we're getting a lot of flavors out of this right now. There we go.
Cabbage wilts.
Just quickly draining the potatoes that I had set aside. And tossing them in there. So I want to get those flavors on the potatoes too. And then we throw our chicken back in. As well as our chopped beets and carrots. Just getting everything in that pot so they can come together. I'm gonna grab my spatula so I can get the last of it together here. Then you just stir all of that up. Get it mixed. Things are going to get everywhere. Your hand's going to be covered in beets. Now's not the time to care about that, because you're on your way to a good soup.
It smells so good.
It does. It smells delicious. Okay.
How long are we gonna do this?
Not actually much longer. I think that this actually needs a shot of vinegar, so I'm going to pause while I grab that. There we go. Literally a shot glass filled with vinegar that I poured in there. It actually makes the colored beets brighter.
It also livens up the whole smell.
It does, and it helps cabbage too, like with their flavor. It lifts it up. Okay. And then once we have that all mixed together, we grab the stock that we've mixed up on the side. 6 cups of stock going in there. We might need another 1 or 2 cups of water, just depending on how everything cooks down. And now you just set this to the side, let it come up to a simmer, and leave it there until it's delicious. I'm honestly not even sure how long that'll take. So,
we'll let you know in a second?
Yeah, might be 20 minutes, might be an hour, who knows. Now our soup has had a chance to simmer and cook away for an hour. We actually added in an extra cup of water and just a little bit more of the spices because we like things to have more of those. Feel free to adjust them to your personal tastes. But it's cooked down and absolutely delicious at this point.
Smells good.
Alright, and there's only one step left for us to finish it. And that is some sour cream. So I'm going to put a little bit of the soup in the sour cream. Mix that up. This is just to make sure that it comes to temperature gradually instead of quickly and all at once, because that'll keep your sour cream from curdling. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting like chunky and stuff. And a little bit more in. And now I can stir all this right into the soup. This will give us a nice creaminess, sourness to it. You would typically serve borscht by putting a big batch of sour cream in the bottom of each bowl. But I'm doing it this way just to spread out what little sour cream we have. Because we're working on a budget today. Just making sure I get the last of everything out of there. Right? It's delicious. Tasted some on that fork, and it was almost perfect. And I forgot to mention earlier that I actually put in 2 large bay leaves. So you're going to want to make sure that you would put some bay leaves in yours as well.
It smells done, though.
It is. It's actually done.
Oh, I can't wait.
You won't have to. Because this borscht is ready for us. And with that, I've made a cheap and easy chicken borscht soup on a budget. And it tastes wonderful. It's really not that expensive to make. It takes a while because it does have to bubble away on the stove for about an hour, but altogether it wasn't that much work overall. So I hope that you give this recipe a chance, try it yourself, and if you liked it, share it with your friends. And give us a like and comment below and let us know if you've had soups like this before, or if you have any tips or tricks of your own. But for now, I'm gonna go eat my soup, and I hope you have a wonderful night.